Yeah, this is Paul. Yeah. So I started going through these documents. Yeah. Now, as I had mentioned, July 31st, 2025, see section number 9. Now, section number 9 says the state has exclusive continuing jurisdiction, is the home state. The petitioner is granted temporary care, custody, and control of the minor's name, the table of these minors. The respondent will be allowed visitation as follows: no contact until there's a mental health evaluation of respondent and treatment if recommended. Now, I would be allowed visitation as a father as long as I do a mental health evaluation of the respondent and treatment if recommended. Now, I had read maybe, well, since 2011. I was served the protection order after it was issued when I lived on Guam. The parole officer on Guam might have remembered that I was on probation for a year after I was arrested. Yeah. And they served me at the fifth wheel that I was living. No, the shipping container. Yes, yes, yes. The probation officer might remember how she brought out a number of what looked like armed police officers to guard me in the event that I became violent. But I had actually been on the Washington State Court website since they issued the first temporary protection order. I had known about being able to find out if there was any documents or court cases against you. And when my sons were abducted and I was put in jail for 10 days when I didn't commit domestic violence, yeah, and I didn't commit child abuse. Yeah, I had known about it before. In fact, I'd sent some emails to Pastor Mike. I said, well, this is really hurting me here. Okay, issuing a protection order when I'm stuck on Guam and I can't respond. It was a painful, torturous experience. But every one of them had one of these mental health evaluations as if I was the crazy one. And somehow I think there is a propensity among those that are health evaluators, mental health evaluators, psychologists and psychiatrists, to recommend some sort of psychotropic or antidepressant or pharmaceutical type of treatment. Now, I've been clean and sober for 24 years. I did smoke marijuana twice when it got legalized in the state of Washington, but I didn't like it. I happen to like the brain that I was given. Now, you know what happens when you don't do the treatment the way that the psychologist or psychiatrist recommends. You're an unfit parent. They have just cause to remove custody, my parenting rights, and then my sons are kidnapped until the age of 18 when they finally get to talk to me as their father. Now, for a guy that only did 7 hours of parenting classes, 7 hours of videos, mostly videos. We watch videos at Erica's house. Was on probation for a year and had not committed any domestic violence. It looked to me like an abduction. Now, the state has complete jurisdiction over the minors, exclusive continuing jurisdiction. But as I looked through this document, the court will review upon motion of respondent and will only review upon motion if I do a mental health evaluation. Now, this is probably the most illegal way to kidnap children. My sons are the ransom. See, they're being held hostage, and if I don't do the mental health evaluation and the treatment, if recommended, if I don't take the pills that are prescribed or the pills that are given to me, yes, then I won't get any visitation. I won't get to see them. Even though there's no signature on this protection order, even though it looks to me like there's forgeries on this protection order. Yeah, the protected person didn't sign it. As I read this, there was, I don't know, had actual notice when the first restraint is ordered above, and the court found on page 1 that the page on page 1 But it looked to me like the court found on page 1 that the respondent did not receive actual notice. So really, the court did not, it says the court found that the respondent had actual notice, but it says that the respondent didn't have actual notice. Now, I know that when you really look at this, the clerk of the court service, the Clallam County Sheriff's Office, personally served the respondent with a copy of this order to promptly complete and return the proof. It took them 2 weeks, and they had to wait until I was in a public library to serve me when they had known where I was pretty much all the time. This is the way that you kidnap children so that their parents don't have any rights. Pooh! Ah. Now, I'm just getting going here because I'm thinking there's probably hundreds of different kinds of crimes in these documents, but when I asked for an email with the contact information for my sons, for whatever reason, the sheriff of Clallam County decided he didn't want to do what the law required. The police chiefs didn't want to do what the law required. It seemed like the generals and admirals of the United States military didn't want to actually support and defend the rights of American citizens. They wanted to hold my sons hostage, and the way that they've done that is they've refused to remove the protection order that violates my rights and their rights. And then what they decided to do was, well, what's he going to do next? I've got all evening. Sit here by myself at the senior center. Got myself some coffee. I've got a couple granola bars of snacks. I can just sit here and make hours and hours of videos.